And welcome in to the Subconscious Mind Mastery Podcast. Thomas Miller, thanks for joining us. We are going to have some fun today. You know, one of the most satisfying and gratifying things that has happened to me over the evolution of episode number 1 to this one, which I think is 258, is that right? 258, 259, has been the number of people that, you remember Oprah? No, I'm not in any kind of way comparing this effort to that effort. But you know how Oprah had what was called the Oprah Wake? In other words, the Dr. Phils and the Dr. Oz and the Eckhart Tolles, all of that was because they crossed paths with Oprah, and she saw the brilliance in them, and she brought it up and out. Well, I've got to say that one of the fun things that I've been able to do here is to help incubate other people on their now new self-sustaining missions. And this is that story. So really the hub of this whole conversation is our Facebook group, Subconscious Mind Mastery Podcast listeners. And if you're not in that group, we would certainly invite you to join us. Just answer the questions so that we know that you're a podcast listener and not a robot. And we will gladly let you into a very thriving, high-energy community online. But we have a treasure in our Facebook group, and Sarah Wakeman, she has just done an amazing job of engagement. I mean, she just has a natural talent. Well, this is a story about Sarah and her engagement combining with her cousin, who is a yoga teacher, to create a podcast called, are you ready for this? For the Love of Two Hippies. And they are going to explain where that name came from, and it is perfect. But you got to stay with it because it's really down there toward the end. But you will learn how that name came about and why it is such an authentic fit for this podcast. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because of that very thing. This is real. These are two ladies in their 30s working their way through life. How complimentary is that to the podcast that you're listening to now? But they bring the grace of the feminine energy, and they bring the youth of the millennial energy, and it's just a great fit and a great combination. So I've been really waiting, anticipating for quite a while to be able to open this microphone and to finally say, Sarah and Katie, welcome to Subconscious Mind Mastery.
Thank you.
We got them both here in different locations doing the Zoom thing, so this is just awesome. First time I've met you, Katie, and Sarah, of course, you are the CEO of the operation around here, the Chief Engagement Officer, and you just do a fantastic job on Facebook. You are brilliant.
Thank you.
When did you notice that you had social media skills that were engaging, that like you could get people rumbling on something?
I think it's just a extension of my day-to-day life. I like grouping people together. I like including people, just trying to be inclusive with everyone so everyone feels that they're important and they have a voice and they can come and spend time with somebody. So I'm always planning events. I'm always planning gatherings like group walks, and that's just always been something I've done. And I like asking random questions and just triggering people to say, oh, sure, I'll answer this. This seems easy and not scary. So I'm going to comment here real quick, and then just kind of took off. I don't know.
Wow.
I didn't know it was a gift until you told me it was a gift. Actually, you're like, hey, you're really good at this. I was like, oh, I am. Okay, cool.
Do you recognize it now? Do you see it for yourself?
Yeah, I think it goes a little deeper though. During the clubhouse that we were doing this week about the healing convergence, I kind of explained it to myself, and it was kind of cool, just that revelation in my head that I try to put people in the position to share their power and their voice in a different setting. And I just try to kind of push it gently and then allow them to kind of blossom on their own. And that's what I've done with Katie. That's why we're here, I guess. I don't know.
Wow, that is awesome. Well, I just want to publicly thank you for everything that you've done. You've been brilliant.
Thank you.
And I just really appreciate it. I love the spark. I love the energy. Now, why don't we do this? Would you introduce us to your cousin Katie.
Okay, so this is my cousin Katie. Fun fact, we haven't really been that close. We live close. We've obviously see each other at Christmas, the normal family get-togethers. But it was interesting during the pandemic, we were obviously trying to get our grandma on Zoom so she could see all of us. And then we started FaceTiming every day, talking every day. And with all of the chaos in the world, we kind of just used each other as a place to vent, a safe space. And I was like, oh, wow, I can talk through her and I can talk with her. And we just reconnected. And then we started talking every single day. And we realized that we were on the same journey of spiritual, metaphysical, and she does yoga. And so she was teaching yoga with us, with the family over the quarantine. And she's just my little soul sister. And I love her and I appreciate everything she does. And she keeps me centered. And this is her. Drum roll.
Hi, Katie.
Hello, that was so sweet. You are my soul sister. Truthfully, I tell everybody that. This is my soul sister, even if she's my cousin. She is somebody that I have connected with so deeply. And, she is sunshine. And I think I tell her that at least weekly, if not more, because she really is somebody that makes you feel like you're just light and full of air.
She really does. That's a great point. And Sarah, I don't want to embarrass you or unnecessarily aggrandize, but you can say, tell us when the last time you had French fries was. And everybody loves it. It's like you just get everybody, wow, you can turn that into brilliance. It is. That's a great gift. That's amazing. Well, Katie, it's great having you on board as well. And I wanted to circle back now, Sarah. Let's continue. And I wanted to, back when we were talking about, and just the point we were making, owning your talents.
Yes.
It really is something that, as we're stepping into this new realm, and also I am so touched that your personal relationship really incubated and came to where it is today because of a pandemic.
Yeah, it was crazy. Mm-hmm.
And over Zoom, It's like, wow, what an amazing thing. That's like, talk about getting the bright side out of something that otherwise you would brand as negative. I mean, look, if it wasn't for the pandemic, you would have been doing your thing and saw each other at Christmas and weddings and funerals,
Yep.
And what a great gift. So, but back to this idea of, I think this is something, and we're leading up to how you started your podcast, because a lot of times we have these hidden gifts, these hidden talents that are in there. And yes, you've had brushes with them, but you really don't own it. You don't bring it up to the surface.
Yeah.
So how did you accept that gift of, well, wait a minute, I do have an ability to do this. And really, if I'm given that gift, I need to do something with it.
Yeah. She obviously teaches yoga, but there's just so much more that I know that she can do. She's a phenomenal writer. And I was like, how can we have so much to say, and how can we kind of use this as a conduit to spread? We both have the same message with just all-inclusive support, and we want everyone to feel love. And we didn't really know how to do that. We both have separate businesses, and we were kind of hitting that mark, but I think that's why we both had our intuition guided us to do this podcast. And it led us to more and more synchronicities as we started doing it. And we realized that even though it's just us and we're just sitting in a room recording something, we can reach out and help each other with their own gifts. So we realized that we kind of are opposites of each other. And she's really organized and she's really structured. And I'm just over here like a flower floating in the sky. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Or I'm the idea person. So I'm like, and I'm like the energy. And she's like, okay, but we have structure. So we complete each other in that sense. And it's really helpful during interviews or just during podcasts. And eventually, we'll talk about this later, I'm sure, but I want her to write a book. I don't know if she knows that I want her to write a book, but I know she will write a book. And we just like helping other people find their dreams, and we just try to encourage people to just go for it. Whatever hidden talents you think you may have, you don't know, but you can uncover. And we try to give out that energy so that it becomes available, because your spiritual journey can be so kind of dark at the beginning and you can feel so alone. But if we kind of change the mentality and always end everything with hope and encouragement and happiness and love, that people will keep pushing and keep expanding and realize their own powers.
That's awesome. And Katie, I understand that the structure of the podcast came through your husband. So tell us how it came about that you realized, hey, we could do this too.
Yeah. So I am a self-proclaimed introvert. I don't like to get in front of people, although I am a yoga teacher, so I do that to some extent, but teaching is a little bit different. And so when my husband started his podcast, I happened to walk down the stairs where my husband was working, and it was almost like a lightning bolt. And I said, babe, you know what would be so fun? And he goes, what? And I said, if Sarah and I started a podcast. And he goes, well, just text her. And I went, well, I don't want to stress her out, because Sarah's so busy. She always has, everything going in the fire, and she's, running her jewelry business, which is incredible. I'm currently wearing like 6 pieces of it right now. And, so she has all of these things going in the fire, and I didn't want to stress her out. And he goes, no, just call her. Just call her. So I got her on FaceTime and I said, okay, I have an idea and I want you to think about it. And this is my idea, because we talk every single day for probably multiple hours all day long. And it's usually not just, well, how's the weather over at your house? It was, very productive conversations where she was bringing me out of my shell and I was kind of trying to, guide in some way, or we were just having like full on conversations about our spiritual journeys and religion and trying to get me out of that shell a little bit. And so I said, okay, so this is what I think we should do. And I said, just think about it. And she went, well, let's do it. So it was, we just
good response, Sarah.
Yeah. I was like, I don't need to think about it. Sure. Yeah. Let's do it.
You just jump in with both feet with Sarah. She makes you go.
And you launched and you're on your way. I mean, you've been doing this since what, Sarah? I guess you said around your birthday, which is back in the spring of 2021.
Yep. So March, and I don't even know how many episodes we have now. 40, 30.
Yeah, they accumulate quickly, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
We're in 42 countries. We just got 2,000 plays, and we're in 44 states. So we need those last states so we can finish off our sticker map.
Isn't it amazing when you put this stuff out that, is literally recorded in your bedroom or your closet or wherever you go to record, and then all of a sudden you realize, wow, this thing is being listened to all over the planet Earth.
Yeah.
Really
it's amazing.
Yeah. It's incredible. Quite a venue.
And it was kind of a conversation that you and I had, and you told me personally, okay, you guys have this platform and you have a responsibility to the world to spread the message and spread the healing and spread the light and keep it going and stay strong. And I was like, okay, I'll call Katie and tell her, here we go.
We're on our way.
We're on our way.
I think there's something, what I love about what you guys are doing, and I'm in the, on Facebook, podcast movement is like the big podcast conference. There are a couple of them, but that's one of the 2 big ones. And I'm on their Facebook group because I've attended in the past. And somebody had an interesting post up the other day. And they said, what are some of the things that podcasts do that would incline you not to listen? And what bubbled up from that was there are 2 things that are key to a podcast. Content, obviously, and sound quality was another one. So, Katie, your husband already had put together a good little microphone system, right?
He did, yeah.
And then I helped Sarah get a really good mic that she can just plug in with ease. And so you guys have covered the two biggest bases of reasons why people would push away from a podcast. You have great content and you're doing it professionally.
Thank you. That was when we were starting with guests. I was like, I just want it to sound good. That was my main fear. I was like, I don't want them to sound like they're on another planet. I want it to sound good. And there's been a couple episodes where we're changing around systems and we've had some issues with it, but our listeners are so sweet. And they're like, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but we can't really hear you very well on that last episode. And then we immediately changed it. And our listeners are so sweet. And a lot of them are from the Subconscious Mind Mastery page. So if you're listening, shout out to you guys. Thank you for indulging us in our Facebook group as well. And we just appreciate anybody and everybody whenever you find us and your divine timing. And we just love it.
Now, what are the intentions of your podcast? What are you trying to accomplish?
I think it started because both of us were pretty alone during the beginning of our journey. And we're both such empathic people and we don't want people to feel left out and we want people to feel included. And ultimately we want, no matter who you are, where you are, what your background is, to feel loved and supported and appreciated. Because coming from different backgrounds, we have been excluded in certain instances throughout life and we didn't like that feeling. So when we started this, no matter what religion you are, no matter what your background, we wanted you to feel included. And that was one of our main things that we started. So if you are very conservative in your religion, we want you to still have a safe space here and just feel the love that we're giving. If you're on your journey of healing and spirituality and you feel alone, we want you to feel that you're not alone. And we just wanted to gift that to everybody, that we're a safe space. This happened to us too during this journey of weaving in and out of just finding yourself. It can be hard, but there's a safe space here. Like I was telling her this morning when we were chatting about it, I feel like that message gets stronger and stronger as we go, which just keeps continuing in our synchronicities that we're on the right track.
And Katie, I understand that you and I connected through a similar religious background.
We did. When I listened, I think it was your first episode, and Sarah introduced me to the Subconscious Mind Mastery page. You had shared a story about a pastor that when you were in college and you had chosen maybe a different path than what they wanted you to choose. And that I have chosen a different path for my life than maybe what other people had an idea of for it. And so I struggled with that throughout my entire 20s. And once I got to my 30s, it became one of, well, my goal is to live empathically and with compassion. And if that is a problem, I don't know how to solve that for you. But for me, that's what's working. And that's the message that I want to put out. And so when you shared that story, it was just, okay, well, Thomas and I are best friends now.
Yeah, heck of a way to get there, but however we get there, right? It's like one of those, I got to drag this in with me. But, that's part of what makes us what we are, who we are, and our story is that past and then what we do with it, right? That we awaken consciously, we realize that that's not who we are, and that we have the freedom to choose who we're going to be. Again, like the theme of this is emerging, owning your abilities, owning your talents, owning who you're going to be in the world in this new dynamic. So have both of you noticed a shift? So here you guys are both in your 30s. I guess that's millennials, right?
Yeah.
Call that millennial generation.
Yep.
And you came up through what would be considered normal times. And then all of a sudden we got on the radar that there was going to be this conjunction between these two planets up in the sky, right? The finger of God, the heavens declare the glories of God. I mean, it's like all of a sudden, wow, the heavens were speaking. And just within weeks after that, we are in a century-long, so it's been a century since we've had a major pandemic in the world. And now we're in one. And as we are recording this, it's coming back again, and we seem to not be able to get out of it. What has that whole shift for you all in your 30s, trying to navigate life, raise a family, doing your thing, build a business, how has that impacted you?
I probably have a little bit different experience than a lot of people during this, but I don't have children. And it was actually a very great experience, I guess you would say, because I was able to leave a few toxic situations that I've been wanting to get out of. And it led me to being able to spend more time on myself, on my journey, on the growth and the healing that people just get in the rut of life and the rut of working. And I appreciated that side. Obviously, there was a lot of tragedy and a lot that went on. You can't even describe all of the words of everything that everyone went through. But I feel like the important part of what happened was the world was able to slow down and just really take in, wow, is this who I want to be? I have to actually sit and look at myself right now. Am I where I'm supposed to be? Why am I feeling this way? And I've noticed a lot of small businesses popping up and a lot of people just going back to creating their own things, whether that be they still work a 9-to-5 job, but now they paint, or they get back into their hobbies. And I think that aspect, there's some deeper healing going on for people. And then I think there's a higher separation for the people that aren't so healthy in that sense. And there's a lot of hate, and there's a lot of opposites right now. And I think battling through dealing with those every day has, for me, been a lot, especially the past few months. It's been really hard trying to be my authentic self and live in the Midwest. And it's more challenging now, I would say, than it was. And things trying to get back to the new normal, quote unquote, is been very challenging. And I think the healing convergence could not have come at a better time for me. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's what we're doing right now on the Subconscious Mind Mastery page. And I have felt so much energy. I was so hyper last night at work, and I was not even caffeinated. And I meditated for the first time again. And I did some Reiki on myself, and I cleansed my chakras. And I just needed that support and motivation because I was getting so overwhelmed by everyone's fear, because I am an empath and I am around a lot of people that live in a fear-based life, and I don't want to live that way. So I was able to come to the group and feel that love and support and just fighting for what I want. And I feel that energy, and I'm so grateful for that and everyone who participated in that. So I hope that answered the question. I like to talk, so.
Oh, that is amazing. And boy, I haven't slept well since Sunday night. Well, I have, but I mean, it doesn't come when I want it to.
Yeah. Just get those energy bursts and you're like, I gotta go. I gotta do it.
Katie, same question.
So I think the beginning of the pandemic, I experienced a lot of fear. I have myself and my daughter both have lung issues. So when all of that started happening, there was some significant fear that went along with that. So we did a lot of hunkering down and trying our best to stay safe. But during that time, there was also an intense level of introspection. I read a lot of books. I listened to a lot of podcasts that helped me kind of dive into my own shadows, although at the time I didn't know that it was called shadow work. Sarah and I kind of talk about that a lot when we were working on our inner work series. I did not know that what I was working on was my inner child. I did not know that I was working on my shadow work, but that's what the last year and a half had been. And that was because of the pandemic. When my husband ended up with COVID, almost 107-degree temps, and it was very, very, very scary. And then after all that I had was a loss of smell and taste, and my kids had nothing. And, during that time, I also, before the pandemic, I worked on learning more things about herbal medicine and natural supplements and those kind of things. So we implemented a lot of that for myself and my kids. And so I do attribute a lot of that to our ability to stay healthy during that time. But it was just a huge level of introspection. A lot of things changed for me. A lot of things, like what Sarah was saying, becoming who I wanted to become, learning, just a lot of learning and unlearning, a lot of unlearning during that time.
So now how does this frame your today and your tomorrow? And what I'm coming from is, think about the different perspective of somebody in their early 60s who obviously without some medical miracle, most of my days are behind me. You guys still have an equal or greater number of days ahead of you. And yet here's this thing that is changing our journeys. Where does that take you?
For me, it's taking me to a place of empathy and compassion and trying to understand the fear better, because I do have, older parents, and Sarah and I both have grandparents that are still alive and that it would deeply impact. And so I also learned during that time, when people are scared or lash out or, have a differing opinion than me, that's okay. A lot of that is when someone lashes out, and I learned this from a book that I read during the pandemic, that they have a value somewhere that's not being met. And so it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with what I am doing. It is simply where they are in life. And I push out as much compassion and love and empathy to them as I possibly can, and then just continue on with my day, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Sarah, any thoughts on that?
My word for 2021 was authenticity. And I didn't understand the impact of that word until it just kind of popped in my head. And it has been the theme for sure. And I battle a lot of fear in different aspects of my life. And like I said a second ago, there's a lot of fear that surrounds me. And so living kind of selfishly and to be my authentic self has been my goal, I guess. Not selfish in a way that I obviously am a selfish person, but my beliefs, I'm trying to stay strong in them because it's what I believe, and I feel like that's my journey. And so if that doesn't fit someone, I give them the same empathy and compassion that I would want to be treated myself. So that's been my goal, is no matter what opinions you have, I support you in that. And I'm glad that you I'm glad that you feel that way, and whatever you need to do to protect your space, I can appreciate that. And that's just what I'm asking from everyone else in the same sense. And that's kind of been what's happening, I feel like, in that aspect of life for me. I want you to feel safe and protected, whatever that may mean for you. And I think that's where the podcast leads. And I think the podcast helps me as a reminder that we do want to lead that way, and we do want to lead with compassion and grace and give a safe space for people and be inclusive for all parties and live authentically in the same sense. And I feel like there shouldn't be a super divided line between that. And that's what I'm trying to converge on throughout our podcast, and the rest of the new normal that's coming in is living authentically, but also supporting and giving appreciation for everybody and their different lives for what they're going through, because I don't know what you're going through. I don't experience the things that every single person has experienced. So I can't speak on that, and I can speak on what I've experienced. And I would hope to have the same respect that I try to give everyone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said, both of you, on that. I think that's such a critical foundation. And then what you guys have done, and it's really interesting that you use the word authentic, because I think what you guys have done is just taken your normal selves and not tried to paintbrush anything, and you've just taken where you are, like all of us. We're trying to navigate our way through this, and you've turned it into something positive. But what you've brought into it is that other component that the podcast movement people aren't even plugged into, and that's energy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you must have an intention behind this of really bringing a high level of energy to the table every time you get behind the microphone.
Yeah, we want you to feel good afterwards. Even if it's a rough topic, we want you to feel hope. And so when we do have a topic that is hard, or if we're doing the journal prompts and it's going to kind of take you back and maybe bring up some triggers from the past, we try to end with hope, and that at the end of the day, we're just trying to be better, and we're trying to get better, and we want to support you on that path. And I think we start it with an affirmation because we're both really into affirmations and intentions, and we try to set the stage every single time of you can change no matter what. And we get that from you, Thomas. We hear it so many times. Well, I'm too old, or I don't want a new job. There's no hope. There's no hope for me. It's over. I'm 40. My life is over. I can't change. And it's like, you can change no matter what. Every day is a new day, and you just have to set your mind to it. And we just want to gift that to everyone. Keep going, keep pushing, whatever you want, fight for it. And we're here to support you, and we'll be empathetic, and we'll have a smile on our face. And if you're talking to me, I'm probably going to put 12 exclamation points and a smiley face in your text message, because that's what I do. And that's who I am. In corporate America, I actually got in trouble because I put too many exclamation points and smiley faces. So you know what, corporate America, I'm going to keep doing it.
Hey, goodbye. Thank you very much. Katie, are you seeing a shift to the feminine through all of this? Are you seeing that wave of we're moving toward kind of away from the patriarchal into what is going to be a more feminine, graceful energy eventually?
Sarah's down there giggling. I can see her. Absolutely. And I'm excited for it. I think as a woman, we have both the masculine and the feminine in us. And so it's important to include both of those. But I am enjoying watching, just the nurturing aspect, I don't know. I'm far more, and I think that Sarah, we've talked about this before, but I am a feminist. I have claimed it for a while.
Put it out there.
Yeah, put it out there.
This is about authentic.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know what's about to come out of her mouth. That's why I was giggling.
Like, she's a little scared down there. No, I do, and I love it. I look forward to the nurturing aspect of what is coming, and the just vulnerability. I think women have the ability to be so vulnerable and make a change and to bring that forth. And I think for so long, especially in our country, we have demonized emotions, and especially for men. And so having the ability we have a lot of men that listen on our podcast, and that makes me really happy because they are experiencing these things from a woman's perspective, from two women's perspectives. And Sarah and I are similar in a lot of things, and we're also different in a lot of things. And so we do bring different perspectives to the table, and just allowing men to also have the feminine side, because we all have it. Every man has that side. And so, as well as women have the masculine side. And so bringing forth that a little bit more is just kind of fun to see.
Yeah, I think it's a trend that's going to continue, and the wise man would do well to lay down that patriarchal hold and embrace what's coming. And that's what's beautiful about what you guys are doing now is you're two gals in their 30s doing life, living it out loud, reaching the millennial generation and beyond with your story. But I love, Sarah, that you brought it back to authentic, because that's what I get from your podcast is authenticity, high energy, and very unpretentious. It's just living right where we are today. You all have captured it beautifully.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And I love that I don't even know how we did it, but we really are just ourselves. And people can feel that. And if you know me, then I feel like you can see me when you're listening. Just like with Thomas, when I read a book, I can hear your voice always when I'm reading something of yours or listening or whatever. But I love that you guys can feel the energy that we give, and we put our heart into every episode, and not in like I don't even know how to explain it, but it really is just all about love. And I just crack up every time we say that, because we just want everyone to feel love. And I feel like that little crazy old lady on the corner, like, I love you. Do you want a hug? And that's how it feels. And I'm glad that we can give that off to everybody and they can receive it.
Katie, where did the name come from?
I don't know. For a long time, my husband has always called me a hippie. And Sarah and I align in kind of, tree hugger, kind of, maybe a little bit bleeding heart sometimes. And we were brainstorming, and sometimes I say, kind of older type of terms like, oh, for the love, and I think I had said it and I went, that's what we should call it, for the love of two hippies. And she started giggling and she's like, that makes me laugh. Let's call it that. So,
yeah, I don't know if people know that that's kind of the joke behind it. It's supposed to be like for the love, because we want to give love, but it's also kind of the comical joke as you say it, like for the love of two hippies. And so it just, and also the hippie, I was like, I don't think I'm a hippie. And then we had to look up a few definitions. I was like, well, I guess I am. So here we go.
Wow, that's cool. That is really cool. Now, another thing I know that you bring into it is some connection with the sky. You're doing some planetary stuff to bring it down and tie it in. Talk about that too.
We just try to relate. Obviously, we're learning, and we listen to the Fun Astrology podcast to get our information. And we have a few books that we're reading, and we try to stay connected with what's going on, because I think it is relevant. And it's something that I do on a daily basis. And when you say, go for it today, then I go for it. When you say, oh, don't have that conversation today, then I don't have that conversation today. So I feel like it's very relevant. And a lot of our listeners also listen to the Fun Astrology podcast. And so I feel it's important. And we're also hippies. So we do believe in all of that. And that is something that we base our life off of. And we think it's relevant because it is high energy. I was having a conversation with my mom last week, and she was just, I don't know what's going on. I'm so depressed this week. I'm so down. And I was like, it's the energy. It's not you. She just couldn't stop crying. And I was like, same. I've been crying. Katie's been crying. It's just the energy right now. And so I was like, why don't you listen to Thomas's podcast about astrology, and it'll kind of give you a little pickup for the day of, hey, these are the energies coming, and beware or go for it. And she listened, and she came into my work, and she was just talking up a storm about it. And she was like, well, if you've been having a hard time, it's because the energy in the planets. And I'm just like, okay. So I think it's fun that we're able to, maybe if you've never believed in that, or you think it's just hoaxy or kooky or whatever, and then things start syncing up with what's relevant with what's going on, it becomes a little bit larger than life. And we try to do meditations around it. We were doing some full moon ceremonies and new moon ceremonies because once again, we're all about intention, and we're all about keeping your affirmations strong and focusing on what you want and pushing for growth. And I feel like all of those, using the planets and your guides as energy, is very important. And if you aren't, then you're kind of missing out on a big energy source. And that's why we're all encompassing with all your practices.
I hope you keep those ceremonies going, because that's one of the things that I get emails is, what should I do about this or that ceremony? And you guys are, what I tell them is, go listen to your podcast, because
thank you.
You guys have covered that so well. And I think people love having, say the term way shower, I guess, somebody to just say, hey. And Katie, with your yoga background, I would imagine that that's pretty easy to put those together.
Yeah, I follow several pages where I'll get emails almost every single day, and it'll kind of inform me where we're at. I just got one today and I forwarded it to Sarah because I was like, look, this has a ritual with it. And it was, I think it's fun. And I think that your intention behind the whole thing is so important. And I talk a lot about setting intentions with yoga and meditation and the things that I teach. And so using astrology to pinpoint your intentions and put a lot more energy, especially that high vibrational energy behind it, is beneficial. And so we like to use it for that.
Well, I hope you keep it rolling, and I'm going to keep referring people over to you for that piece, because I have to stop somewhere, and that would be a great place to just hand the baton. You guys keep it and carry it.
Yeah.
That's great.
And we are starting a little bit more meditations. I know you're doing meditations on your page, and it's amazing. And Katie's voice is so soothing. So I have like a real raspy voice. So when I do meditations, I really try to focus. But her meditation, she's just so soft spoken, and that's what we're trying to start doing. I'm trying to just get her out of her little shell is what I need. So she is so good at recording them. So that's what we are going to start pushing a little bit more on our pages, because we want you to be able to not just listen to the new episode, but come back and, I'm really anxious about this. So I'm going to listen to the calming I'm going to listen to the calming meditation today, or I'm really struggling this morning and I really got to get up and go. So we wanted to make a get up and go or get your day going. And so that's kind of where we're also leading with the podcast. So you can listen for new information, but then also use it as a resource to come back to and have that guided meditation that you're used to and comfortable and is a safe space.
That's a great point, because, people will be listening to this episode years down in the future, when COVID is now relegated to our history books and is no longer among us. And yet the struggles that we went through and broke through during this time in history will be timeless. So there will be an extra charge, there will be an extra energy around the meditations that are created during this time when COVID is no longer with us. You're absolutely right. Because even then, in those times, we will still be dealing with things that we can always come back to this time. Actually, that's a really good point. We should be putting more of those out there, because they are going to have a different energy that can only be captured right now.
Especially with us doing the healing convergence, there's just so much energy going on, and it's so high vibration. And I've never felt such a collective, which I've never done anything like this, but I've never felt such a collective conscious connection. Okay, that was a lot of words, but it's just so awesome to be able to talk to each person in our group that comes from such a different background and does everything so differently, but we're still there for support and to bounce ideas off of each other. And all of our energies are so different. And I feel like we're all feeding off of each other, even though we're all over the world. And with all these group events that we're doing and the clubhouse and the meetings on Sundays online, I just think it's so important, and I'm so excited to see where it goes. And like you were saying, I feel like it's going to be huge, and it's going to be such a wonderful resource for everybody. And I feel like the energy and the products that we'll produce from this will be so powerful for everybody. And it is really important. And Katie, we have to do our job. We've been given these gifts. We have to get the message out.
That's exactly right. And I'll tell you, there's so much energy behind this. What Sarah's talking about is something that we're doing in the Facebook group, Subconscious Mind Mastery Podcast Listeners. This is where it's happening. So if you're not part of that group, come join us. Just answer the questions, because I do filter those to make sure that you're a podcast listener and not a bot, because we don't want any bots in our group. So just make sure that you're listening to the podcast. But that's where we're doing this weekly event, the Healing Convergence. And after we did the first one this past Sunday in August of 2021, I didn't sleep that whole night. And for me, with my little thing going on with my heart, when I don't sleep for a night, that's a bad, bad deal. No bueno. But I could not go to sleep. And for the next couple of nights, same thing. I mean, just this real staggered sleep pattern. I mean, there is so much buzz on this. It's just incredible.
And we were talking to a couple people, and it's just interesting how things are already linking up. We were talking to Ian on Clubhouse, and he actually said he was feeling really kind of down and kind of lonely afterwards. And then the next day, it was like a brand new day, and he had all of these things linking up and matching up and all these synchronicities happening. And Tom, the other guy that's running Clubhouse for us, he was just, I'm so high vibration. He said, I've never had such a meditative experience, and it was phenomenal. And with me, like I've had so much energy, and it's been productive energy, because that's my issue is I think I'm too high vibe sometimes, and I'm not productive. And I just have all these, I'm just like, there's so many shiny things in my room, and I don't know which one to look at. And so that's why I've been adding the healing part of it and the meditative part of it with the encouragement from the group. Try this, and just knowing that everybody else is doing it and we're doing it together for the collective just is much more meaningful for me to focus. And that's also what Tom was saying, is how do we ground ourselves in this so we don't have the highs and lows? And I feel like we'll continue to talk about grounding and connecting and keeping the vibration high, but productive at the same time. And that's how I've felt. I've gotten so much done, and I've been able to meditate in the way that's best for me. And I've found that, and just the encouragement from everything has been amazing.
I think you just captured the essence of the whole thing. And what's there for me is, when we kicked it off the other night, is we are combining our energies. So we all have to make sure we're bringing the highest level of energy to the table.
Yeah.
Because we are. And now I'm realizing, not only just Sunday nights, we're continuing it out. This really is having that impact. Katie, could I put you on the spot?
Sure.
Would you lead us just in a little closing, centering, grounding in the space of the energy we've just talking about, little meditation to wrap this up and really take it up to a high level?
Sure. Okay, so if you are sitting in a comfortable seat, go ahead and place both feet on the ground and try to sit up nice and tall, leaving that nice elongation in the spine. Maybe find a little movement here in the neck, rolling forward and then back, and then reversing that a little bit. And then once you are ready, kind of come to a place of stillness, allowing both feet to feel completely grounded on the floor beneath you, allowing your sit bones to feel grounded in the chair beneath you. And then we're just going to take a couple deep inhales in our nose. And then exhale, maybe make a noise like an ocean sound. Inhale in your nose. Open your mouth and make that ocean sound. Shh. One more time. Inhale. Take the biggest inhale that you've taken all day, filling that belly all the way up with air. One last exhale. Release it all out. Shh. And as you feel ready, you can bat open your eyes. And release.
Now you know why you should tune in to For the Love of Two Hippies. Any questions? Thank you, ladies, for being with us.
Thank you.
And don't worry, be hippie. That's how we end each episode. I actually sing a song. But...
You know how I normally end mine, so you just go ahead and say that again, and we'll end it with yours.
Okay. Don't worry, boo-boo, 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 be hippie.
The opinions on this podcast are those of the host, based on personal experience only, and are not intended as medical or psychological advice. If you are experiencing symptoms that require professional treatment, please contact a licensed medical practitioner.